There's nothing more exciting than starting a new month fresh with all of the possibilities. When it comes to my professional or career life, things are looking a little bit hectic in May, as well as in my personal life where I'm going to a whole lot of wedding-related events this month. But that does not mean that my free time, my hobbies get pushed to the side. Oh no, no. And what I do in my free time is typically what I share here on this channel with my video content. So letting you know ahead of time what I'm going to be getting up to, I think will be super useful for you if you're looking to join anything, or if there's something that is going to be releasing this month, you'll have a little bit of heads up. It's my first year participating in Horror Mayhem. I heard about this readathon that prioritizes short horror books from Mindy, from Mindy's Book Journey. It's my second year participating in Zombie Awareness Month, Zombie-thon, hosted by Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures, and it's my second year participating in Escape the Readathon. I'm co-hosting Escape the Readathon in a very, very fun way. If you've never heard of this event, it's a team-based competitive readathon where your whole goal is, as a team, to be the first group to escape a specific setting. Last year, it was a haunted house, which was so much fun, and this year it's going to be the Black Cat Carnival. I am on the Game Master's side of things, so my whole goal is to keep everybody in this carnival, this creepy little place, as long as possible. So whatever I read this month, a team or teams will have that total subtracted from their group's amount. So apologies to those lucky teams in advance, and huge thank you to Lexi, the creator of this event, for inviting me to participate. It is so much fun, and I highly encourage everybody to check out the description box down below for all the information, all the links to any of these 3 events that you might be interested in. Because trust me, if you're looking for new friends around a specific hobby or interest, participating in YouTube creator events is the perfect way to go. My reading plans this month can be categorized into 3 groups, and it mostly has to do with the events that I'm participating in this month. The first group is going to be that spring theme, but add in the horror element to make things a little bit more interesting for me. So eco horror, the use of mushrooms, just kind of the dark side of nature. Ooh, I'm so excited for these books here. So the first one here is a new release, A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. This book has a gorgeous cover. I mean, all of these books really do. It is set in Victorian London. We have a gay male couple who decides to make a daughter for themselves out of flowers. This has been called a Frankenstein retelling. I love Frankenstein, and then add in all these really cool elements. I'm so sold on this one. The next spooky spring book I have is Green Fuse Burning by Tiffany Morris. This literary horror novella follows a woman who is in an artist retreat in the middle of very, very creepy woods. I believe it is Indigenous horror, and there probably is going to be some historical or social commentary in this one. Say no more. Those are the things I really, really love when I want something cerebral. The next book I have here is The Beauty by Aaliyah Whiteley. I haven't heard too many people talk about this one, but imagine a world where women go extinct. So there's some aspects here of mushrooms. I know people are kind of hit or miss with mushrooms in their horror. I love them. It also has some sci-fi because it's very dystopian. It's post-apocalyptic. And then I'm going to be reading my first work from Paul Tremblay in the form of a short story. This is going to be from the Creature Feature collection that you can either access through Audible or Kindle Unlimited. I think also just anywhere on Amazon. And this is a story called In Bloom. A journalist investigates the sources of recurring toxic algae blooms across the coast. As a game master of the Black Cat Carnival, I am really going to be enjoying picking up books that feature circuses, clowns, carnivals. I've read quite a bit at this point of books that fall within these kind of themes or subgenres. So I'm really scraping the barrel right now when I'm trying to scrounge up something that does fit within these confines. I probably could create a recommendations video at this point, but I will be giving some books a shot that I am kind of on the fence about whether or not they will work for me. But how will I know if I don't try? So one book that falls within that is going to be Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have the audiobook for this one from my library, so that probably will help me quite a bit. It's a book about dueling magicians and bewitching enchantments at a Victorian circus. People talk very highly about the writing for this one. People compare the setting to aspects of Tim Burton movies. I'm there. That sounds fantastic. But also there's some really negative reviews of this book. I do have a nonfiction book I'll be reading this month. I have the audiobook of The Wonders, Lifting the Curtain on the Freak Show, Circus and Victorian Age by John Wolfe. A radical new history of the Victorian age, meet the forgotten and extraordinary freak performers whose talents and disabilities help define an era. And I have just so much range here because my next book is Revenge of the Clowns by Cesar Ruel. This Kindle Unlimited book is the sequel to a very beloved book that I got to this past summer, and that is The Circus of the Hungry Clowns. That initial book in this series gave major killer clowns from outer space vibes. I really hope this sequel brings it. My third category of books this month are going to be the 4 weekly prompts for the Horror Mayhem Readathon. The first week's prompt is to read a book that is a local horror novel, so anything that has an aspect that is in some way regional to you. This prompt, I'm going to be reading a book club pick of Katrina Brown. She has the Reaper Book Club, and her May pick, which I am very excited to be a co-host for, is going to be Ling Hun, set in the mysterious town of Home, a place where the dead live as spirits conjured by the grief-sick population that refuses to let go. It is a literary horror novella. It's super short, talks about grief horror, right up my alley. And why I would classify this as local horror is that the town is called Home. Home is literally anywhere you want it to be. So, I'm kind of fudging it a little bit, but I kind of like the way I interpreted this one. Very sneaky, very sneaky. The second week's prompt is to read a book that's like a movie horror novel. And for this one, I'm going to be using it to wrap up the Indian Lake trilogy written by Stephen Graham Jones, the third and final book in that trilogy. I'm not the most excited for because the sequel was not really... It didn't do it for me. It was just a little too chaotic. I was confused half the time, but My Heart is a Chainsaw is one of my favorite books of all time. So it's just such a wash for me, and it makes me really sad. So I hope this third one at least gives me some closure about Jade's storyline, because she's for sure the character I have the most investment toward. And so although I'm not reading short horror all the time to hit off the Horror Mayhem prompts, I'm still kind of keeping within the themes, so I think it still works. For the third week's prompt, we have a classic horror novel. I love how broadly we can kind of define this. For this one, I'm thinking of using it for another book club pick, this time for Elizabeth Sagewood's Gothic Hearts Club. For May, her book pick is Secrets of Heartwood Hall by Katie Lumsden. This book follows a young widow who's taking care of this young child, and she goes to this estate, and I think there's like something like, she's haunted by her past, that kind of situation. It was said to kind of be a love letter to the Gothic fiction of earlier decades. And then the last weekly prompt of Horror Mayhem is contemporary horror. Another new release here, I'm going to be reading Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. Aztec vampire who's super ancient, roams the modern world in search of vengeance and love in this seductive dark fantasy. Word on the street is that it's a pretty spicy book, not always my vibe, but I don't think it's the bulk of the story. Let's talk about the movies I plan on getting to in the month of May. This month I do have some anticipated releases that will be going out into theaters. The first one is coming out on May 3rd, which is I Saw the TV Glow. A classmate introduces teenage Owen to a mysterious late-night TV show, a vision of a supernatural world beneath their own. In the pale glow of the television, Owen's view of reality begins to crack. This one looks like a fever dream, hallucinatory experience of a movie. It can go either way for me. It might be like going way over my head. I might really love the atmosphere and the cinematography. I guess we shall see. Then we have Tarot, which releases May 10th. Friends unwittingly unleash an unspeakable evil trapped within a cursed deck of tarot cards. One by one, they come face to face with fate, racing against death to escape the future foretold in their readings. Why does this give me like Final Destination vibes? And then coming out on May 31st to Shudder is going to be Stop Motion. A talented stop motion animator becomes consumed by the grotesque world of her horrifying creations with deadly results. For Cat's Zombie-thon, I did have a whole slew of zombie movies that are on my watch list that now is just really the perfect time to get to them. Zombie movies have always held a really special place in my heart ever since I was a little girl because, like Universal Monsters, zombie movies are things I grew up watching in my home with my family. They were always on, so when you have that kind of upbringing, things typically end up being really nostalgic and cozy and comforting for you as an adult. And funnily enough, zombie movies are that cozy, comforting thing for me, amongst other spooky Halloween things, because that just was how I was raised. I'm just gonna start rattling off my list here. Let me know your recommendations down below if there's something you think I'd enjoy, but it isn't on this list, or if there's something on this list that you think I should prioritize. Definitely let me know, because I might just be, going based off my mood. There's a History of Zombies PBS documentary I would love to get to. It's pretty new, pretty recent. 1932's White Zombie. This one features Bela Lugosi. Let me know if you could find a zombie movie older than that. I Walked with a Zombie, which came out in 1943. 1957's Voodoo Island, which stars Boris Karloff. He is the monster in Universal Monsters Frankenstein. Night of the Living Dead, which came out in 1968. I have seen this one. It'll be a rewatch. This is one of those movies I would see my dad playing all the time as a kid, so this one really feels like a zombie staple film in my life. Going forward about 2 decades here, Return of the Living Dead, which came out in 1985. The film poster for this one says it all. Another zombie movie that I think would be a great pairing with that one is going to be Dead Alive, which came out in 1992, 1 year before I was born. Moving into the 2000s with Boy Eats Girl in 2005. It was so hard to say that title without saying Boy Meets World, but they are two very different things. And then the sequel to Zombieland, Zombieland Double Tap. This one I've not seen, but I really did love Zombieland. And that one came out in 2019, and for some reason I never got to it up until this point. And just a quick moment here for the TV series I'm watching in May. I am in the middle of my first time watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've already mentioned this on my channel in my favorites video, but I'm wrapping up season 1. I'll be getting to season 2. I'm not trying to rush anything. I'm really just trying to enjoy it all. And I'm considering possibly doing a Buffy season 1 review wrap-up kind of conversation here. Not a live stream, I don't think, just probably like a sit-down video. There's about 7 seasons of Buffy, so being able to wrap up my thoughts and feelings at the end of each of those could be really fun, but let me know what you think if that's something that you'd enjoy watching. In addition to books and movies, I also have some other hobbies of the craft and game variety on deck for May. Zombie-thon is the perfect opportunity to do a themed zombie cocktail. I've been looking up some really fun recipes online, and I know Kat has some plans to do her own. I think it'd be really cool to have one that I kind of go back to throughout the month anytime I'm watching my zombie movies, maybe making it a mocktail on the days I don't want to add a little booze in the mix. For the longest time, I've had this amazing Killer Clowns from Outer Space coloring book from Fright Rags, and with this whole carnival readathon event, I think this would be perfect when I'm listening to my audiobooks to just kind of help me channel in, relax a little bit. Even when I'm watching movies too, I tend to get a little bit fidgety, and that means sometimes just scrolling mindlessly on my phone. Spring is a really great time to go outdoors, and I have recently been getting into hiking. That's something I really want to prioritize, especially since wildflower season is upon us. And speaking of nature and flowers, I'm continuing my adventure diving into cozy games with the Wylde Flowers game that I'm playing on mobile through the Apple Arcade. It's this, typical farming simulation, but really there is this secret world for you to explore that's magical, that's witchy. So I'm taking my time, not rushing anything as I continue to play this game in May. I also thought it'd be kind of cool to run some video content ideas by you all and get your feedback. So definitely share if there's something you're really excited about, you really want to see. One thing I definitely want to do is to share my experience on my birthday trip to Los Angeles. I vlogged about 24 hours of my time there, and I was there for way longer than that for an extended weekend. And so at the end of that, I was planning on just sharing some general tips and advice for some off the beaten path, kooky, fun experiences. I also wanted to do a spooky spring vlog, so kind of bringing in those eco horror, scary nature vibes. I had an idea to share my thoughts on the zombie movies that I end up getting to this month, and doing it in the similar way that I've done for spider monster movies. I didn't realize it on the outset of making that spider monster movie review video that I was actually starting a whole new series on my channel, but but it's really cool to be able to chronologically kind of taste test a subgenre within horror and see how it has evolved over time. So I'm kind of calling it the Horror History and Film Review series on my channel. I also plan on hosting some self-care sprints this month. It's very similar to a reading sprint if you're familiar, but the activities we're going to be doing are just a little bit more broader. I've been chatting with my friends Maddie and Brooklyn about cozy gaming, and that's just a new hobby I've been exploring and sharing on this channel. So I thought it'd be really great, no matter what I actually am in the mood for this month, to have a space where we're just like chatting and sharing things about our hobbies and prioritizing our needs. And that's basically the whole premise of that sprint. Whatever you gotta do that will help you feel like you're caring for yourself, I think is gonna be really powerful to kind of have that space. I know this video is a little different than what I typically do, but I'm experimenting, trying out new things. Maybe I do something that's not monthly in terms of sharing my plans. Maybe I go a little bit more seasonal. It's kind of hard because I do kind of change my schedule for content based on interest and, you know, my availability to kind of edit and film things. So it's kind of a toss-up what I'll actually end up doing, but I would definitely love your feedback. Are you in the middle of any books, TV shows, movies? Are you gonna be starting a new craft or hobby this month? Say hi down below in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.